to 5th verse. Nija bhakti karam priya charutaram natanartana nagara rajakulam kulakamini manasa lasyakaram pranamami sachisuta gauravaram Pranamami Sachisuta Gauravaram Pranamami Sachisuta Gauravaram. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu motivates pure devotion unto himself. He is most attractive to his beloved servitors. By his ecstatic, dramatic dancing, he exhibits the characteristics of the king of paramours. He causes the minds of beautiful young village women to dance and bow down to Gaura, the beautiful son of Mother Sachi. Here, the beauty and the dancing of the king of paramours, that is Krishna himself. What a beautiful description of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would dance, it would look like Shonaro Parvata Jano Dhulate Lutai. Like a Shonar Parvat means like a mountain which is made out of gold is, just rolling on the ground. It would appear like that when Mahaprabhu would dance. Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Jagannath Puri, every day Mahaprabhu's activities were very, very beautiful. Very beautiful activities Mahaprabhu had. And, he would go to take darshan of Lord Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, every day in the morning. And he would take darshan of one of the bhogas that was offered to Lord Jagannath, the Upala Bhoga. And he would take the Mahaprasad from there and he would come straight to Siddha Bakul. Siddha Bakul is where Haridas Thakur would chant 300,000 names. The Namacharya would chant over there, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Lord Jagannath himself, the manifestation of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, would personally walk every day to take darshan of this genuine devotee Haridas Thakur. Imagine. The Supreme Personality. We go to take darshan of the Lord, but here the Lord is coming every day to see his devotee, Haridas Thakur. That is the position of a devotee in the eyes of the Lord. The Lord never thinks that he is superior to his devotees. The Lord always considers himself to be bound by the love of his devotees. So therefore, Haridas Thakur, he would be just chanting, in Siddha Bakul every single day. He would chant 300,000 names of the Lord. And the Lord was so pleased with Haridas Thakur that Haridas Thakur would get personal visits from Mahaprabhu himself every single day. And Haridas Thakur would be offered Mahaprasad from Lord Jagannath by the lotus hands of Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would feed Haridas Thakur the remnants of Lord Jagannath's Mahaprasad. That was how much of love Mahaprabhu had for Haridas Thakur. And then both of them would sit together, they would chant for some time, then Mahaprabhu would go to the house of Gadadhar Pandit at Tota Gopinath. So at Tota Gopinath, he would come to see Gadadhar Prabhu. And Gadadhar was very, very expert in reading Srimad Bhagavatam. He would read Srimad Bhagavatam with so much love, so much of, as if he is, personally living the words of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there were two pastimes in specific that Mahaprabhu loved to listen from Gadadhar Prabhu. They were the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. These two, young Vaishnavas, Mahaprabhu would love to hear from Gadadhar Prabhu these two chapters, the glorious life of Dhruva and the glorious life of Prahlad Maharaj. So whenever Mahaprabhu would come, Gadadhar Prabhu would start reciting from these chapters, glorifying Dhruva Maharaj and glorifying Prahlad Maharaj. So beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful pastimes till noon. Then Mahaprabhu would start walking again. He would come to take his noon bath at the ocean. He would swim for a little while in the ocean. He would come back to Gambhira. Gambhira is Mahaprabhu's little room, little place where he would stay. And then that time, after taking prasad at one of the devotees' homes, every day Mahaprabhu would get invited to take prasad at the home of a devotee. And then he would take prasad and then would go take some rest at Gambhira while Govinda, his personal servant, would massage the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu would take some rest at Gambhira and then he would come out again in the evening with his Harinam Sankirtan. When Mahaprabhu would dance on the streets of Nilachal Dham, everybody, every living entity, not just human beings, living entities, they would come out to see this glorious dance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just by seeing Mahaprabhu dance, people's hearts would melt and they would take up the chanting of the holy names just by seeing Mahaprabhu dance. How he would dance, as a child, when Mahaprabhu was there displaying his pastimes as little Nimai, when Mahaprabhu would go around, the town of Nadia in Navadvip, when Mahaprabhu would go around, he would go to some, devotees, brahmanas' homes. They would give him some sandesh, they would give him some other sweetmeats, and then they would say, "Hey Nimai, nach ke dikhao, neche dekhao," they would say in Bengali. Neche dekhao means dance and show us. So Nimai would, raise his hands and he would dance. And everyone would just clap. And just for little Sandesh, they would make him dance to his tunes. Just like how the gopis of Braj, they would make Krishna dance to their tunes just for some butter. Here, Mahaprabhu would dance for some Sandesh, some Rashagolla, different other sweets. Mahaprabhu would dance for them. So Mahaprabhu started dancing from his very, very childhood. In fact, every step that Lord Chaitanya would take was like a dance. Katha Ganam, Natyam Gamanam. What Brahma Samhita says, that every word is a song and every walk, every step is a dance. That was personified by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every step of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so elegant. It was so beautiful. It appeared that Mahaprabhu was dancing. So gorgeous was his dance. And when Mahaprabhu started the nocturnal kirtans at Srivas Angan, such ecstasy the devotees would experience. It's beyond any description. It was described. I remember one time, we all had gone for a personal parikrama with Srila Jayapataka Maharaj at Srivas Angan. He had taken a small group of devotees, and I was very, very fortunate to be in that group. And we were sitting at Srivas Angan. This is back in 1997. And he was telling us some pastimes that was happening at Srivas Angan. And I say the word happening purposely because it's still happening till today. Fortunate souls can still see it happening. So at Srivas Angan, when we were there, Jayapataka Maharaj told us, even now it just gives me goosebumps to even narrate this. But he said, if you've been to Srivas Angan, you will see that there are very, very tall trees, very, very tall palm trees, and, coconut trees are there, very, very tall ones. So Srila Jayapataka Maharaj was describing the nocturnal kirtans at Srivas Thakur's house and how the devotees would display their symptoms of ecstasy, that actually they would, just jump. Each of their jump, we've seen how devotees jump in kirtan, and they rise above the ground, maybe just 1 feet, 2 feet, not more than that. But these devotees of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, would jump to such an extent that they would go to the top of the coconut tree, which was almost around 21 feet or, 50 feet, some of them. They would jump that high. They would go to the top of the coconut tree or these, these other palm trees, and they would jump from one tree to the other. That was the way they would, display their ecstasy. And when Srila Jayapataka Maharaj was explaining it, suddenly we were seeing that, the trees were shaking. And as if, then Jayapataka Maharaj pointed out, he said, look, the trees are shaking. It's as if Mahaprabhu is dancing over there. He's dancing. Maybe some wind blew or what happened, we don't know. But the trees were literally shaking. It was a powerful experience that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is displaying his pastimes. And this is the way they would dance in nocturnal kirtans at Srivas Thakur's house. And then Srivas Thakur's house, we know how the entry was so restricted at Srivas Thakur's house that not everyone was allowed to come and be a part of these nocturnal kirtans. Very restricted people, who were personally chosen by Nityananda Prabhu and by Srivas Thakur. A lot of screening had to undergo for them to be able to be part of these nocturnal kirtans of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One time there was this, humble brahmachari who used to just survive on drinking milk. And Srivas Thakur heard of it and he said, oh wow, you drink only milk? And then he said, yes, Srivas Prabhu, I'm really very much desirous of seeing the nocturnal kirtans of Mahaprabhu. Please, can you allow me? Srivas said, look, it's not just me who has to approve, but there are levels of security, there's levels of recommendation. He said, please, please, please. And then Srivas Thakur was really impressed by this Brahmana, this little brahmachari, and he said, okay, and he took him to Advaita Acharya, and Advaita Acharya said, oh, really? That's really intense. You survive only on milk, okay, but we can't give you direct access into the nocturnal kirtan, but maybe you can just hide in the back and you can, participate. Just watch. So he said, okay, I will just watch. I promise I won't come out. So he went into hiding, and then Mahaprabhu started his nocturnal kirtan. And Mahaprabhu said, today there is somebody who is there, present, and because of whom I'm not experiencing the ecstasy. Because Mahaprabhu used to be very careful those days, because Mahaprabhu had not yet brought out the Sankirtan Leela out in the streets of Navadvip yet. It was just still restricted to the very, very close associates. So Mahaprabhu said, I'm not experiencing the ecstasy. What's happening? What is happening? Somebody is here who is not supposed to be here is here. So then Srivas said, Mahaprabhu, actually there's this little brahmachari, he's a milk drinker. He just survives on milk. That's his austerity. So he was very sincere in asking for, staying for your darshan. So I allowed him to stay. Advaita Acharya, he also said, okay. So Srivas Thakur was trying to cover his grounds. And then Mahaprabhu said, he got really angry. And Mahaprabhu said that, do you think that anybody who can just do the austerity of staying on milk can, achieve this level of, pure devotion to me? Get that milk drinker out. Get him out. Mahaprabhu was so angry. By this, it was, we should not mistake this pastime to think that, oh, how was Mahaprabhu so rude with him? Because this person had the desire to just witness Mahaprabhu's dance. So why did Mahaprabhu, kick him out like this, ask him to get out like this? Why was Mahaprabhu being so rude? Mahaprabhu was establishing one fact here. He was saying that the fact being that we actually don't need any prerequisites to accept the mercy from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't need any prerequisites, with any kind of austerities, with any kind of, punyas, ritualistic way of living that we feel that we can be qualified to receive the supreme love of God. No, that's not a prerequisite. And that's the principle that Mahaprabhu was establishing through the manifestation of this particular pastime. That we don't need, to be performing the austerity of drinking milk our whole life, only then we will get love of God. That's what Mahaprabhu is against. He's saying that you don't have to have this pre-qualification of, drinking milk and doing this kind of tapasya, doing this austerity. No, you don't have to do all that. And what happens when we do too much austerity? Pride creeps into us. It inflates our ego, thinking that, oh, look, I am doing this. This is the kind of austerity I'm doing. So what should I deserve? Love of God. That is pride. So by following certain rituals, over rituals, which are not recommended to follow, we tend to become proud. That's a danger that is there. So we should be very careful that we don't digress from what is mentioned, that we should be following this. Yes, there are certain rules and regulations that we follow during Kartik, but there are some people who say, oh, during Kartik I'll just survive only on fruits, I'll just take only milk during Kartik. That's not there in any shastra. It's not there. Why should we do something? Why should we manufacture something that is not there? That is, niyam agraha. Agraha means, niyam agraha means that not following rules and regulations. And niyam agraha means following rules and regulations after manufacturing them from our own minds. Not what is there in the scriptures. But if we really want to follow what is there in the scriptures, stick to the scriptural guidelines. Hari Bhakti Vilas mentions exactly what we should do during Kartik. What are the different layers of fasting? Everything is mentioned. Why do we need to depend on our minds to manufacture its own process? That is wrong. And that is what Mahaprabhu is establishing here through this pastime. That we should not concoct our own way of thinking that, oh, well, if I do this austerity, I have direct claim on love of God. That's not something we should be doing. So Mahaprabhu is establishing this principle. So Mahaprabhu said, get that milk drinker out. And all the devotees were like heartbroken. And this devotee also got up. He was crying and he said, he just cryingly asked Srivas Thakur that, is there any chance, is there any opportunity that I will be allowed again in the audience of Mahaprabhu? So then Srivas Thakur asked this question to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu said, yes, there is chance, but after 1,000 lifetimes, he can come back. So this devotee, this milk drinking brahmachari was in ecstasy. And then he said, 1,000 lifetimes, at least I have a chance. I have a chance. It's not that I'm going into oblivion, that there is no chance of my deliverance. So there is chance. Mahaprabhu is merciful, that he's at least giving me a chance to redeem myself. I'm so grateful. And here's where Mahaprabhu immediately called him back. He called back that milk drinking brahmachari. And it was the only qualification that at that time made Mahaprabhu call him back, was his grateful heart. The grateful heart, only a grateful heart can be the true recipient of the Lord's mercy. And this brahmachari, he had no pride that I am a milk drinking brahmachari. I don't eat anything. I don't drink anything else other than milk. How can Mahaprabhu kick me out like this? He didn't have any kind of that ego. He did not. But he still was so grateful that Mahaprabhu is not giving up on me. And because of that gratitude that he had, Mahaprabhu immediately called him back. And he said, my dear brahmachari, you are very dear to me. Mahaprabhu placed his 2 lotus feet upon the head of that brahmachari, embraced him. And from that day on, that brahmachari became one of the closest associates of Mahaprabhu. What a glorious pastime. So this is how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing his nocturnal kirtans, his ecstatic dancing. And after delivering this milk-drinking brahmachari, That's when Mahaprabhu decided that let us now take this Sankirtan into the streets of Nadia. That's right after that pastime. Then Mahaprabhu brought out the Sankirtan to the streets of Navadvip. That's when they started taking out Kirtan processions out in the open. And everyone who would see Mahaprabhu dancing like this, they would just get completely mesmerized. And that is what Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying here, that Mahaprabhu is motivating pure devotion unto himself, because the way he is dancing, he's exhibiting his dancing, he is like the king of paramours, and he causes the minds of beautiful young village women, not only just women but everyone, just start dancing and getting affected, infected by this love of pure God, pure love of God. So we